All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be working on mouths today. Obviously, I went through eyes originally. I gave you a lot of different versions as far as those goes. Noses, I actually did even more noses for you. And again, with the nose, I wanted to reiterate, less is more. The less drawing you do for the nose, the better it is. So especially on the one dead center, don't start drawing lines all over the place for the bridge of the nose. You barely even need that for the ones at the side view. You can even just get away with just the tip of the nose as well too. Either way kind of works as far as I'm going. So really at this point I should see your eyes and noses, and now we're going to work on mouths. Mouths are, well, I mean, I don't think they're any more complicated than noses. To get started with them actually is kind of almost a similar shape. So what we want to do is we kind of want to start with that little bump. Like we made a little bump in the middle for the nose, and then just put a line to either side. This would be the basic start to the mouth. Now, all you really need to do is make a little line underneath this to indicate that this the sort of ridge under the lower lip, and you basically have a mouth. You know, that'll pass for a mouth. But I realize that you might want to make something a little bit more complicated, or maybe just a little bit more feminine. This would be a perfectly fine masculine mouth. If you wanted to make a guy, you can also put a little line right over here. That's that sort of split in the lip. And again, I would just do it on one side or the other with just a little letter J almost. If you want to do something to look like bigger, poutier lips, or more sort of like lipstick kind of lips, again, we can have that little bump in the center. We've got those two little lines. If you want to think about it, it's almost like in those little drawings where you see like a seagull or a bird in the distance. It has that little bump in the center and two little lines. And then what we can do, we can add that little ridge underneath the lower lip. But if you'd like, you could just connect that to the bottom, and that would be the lower lip. And for the upper lip, we just kind of repeat the process, and that would be a little bigger, poutier lip. You can always kind of shade them in a little bit if you like. That works as well. I'll go through that again. You can start with like a little bump, a little ridge. You know, that's sort of like seagull in the distance on a painting at the beach. We can make our little line underneath the bottom. This would be the lower part of the lip. And then we could just kind of make the upper part of the lip a little bit thicker. And you could even just color the top part of the lip sometimes, and then just shade the lower part of the lip, and that will kind of work as well. I'll give you a couple other options as far as things go. We could do like an open mouth, and we could kind of do just a little bump like that, and another little one right there. That would be, it almost looks like an eye with extra pieces to it, but we'll call that the open part of the mouth. We'll put a little ridge underneath it again. This will be for like the lower part of the lip. We can kind of connect that in together, and I'll go ahead and shade it. And then for the upper lip, again, two little bumps on the top. That would be like open lips, like an open mouth kind of working over there. I'll do a couple more over here as far as like little examples go. Again, the center opening, that little bump, little things over there. Again, we can make a sort of smaller opening. Here's our lower lip. That would be a slightly open mouth that's a little bit more masculine. And you know, there are a million different variations that you could do on this. You don't have to do them exactly the way I do it. You can draw just the sort of like little like light smile over here, and then draw your lower lip and upper lip. All right, it goes a bunch of different ways. Now the bigger thing to get under your belt is the idea of how to do this when you're looking at a 3/4 pose. So these would all be like front mouths, okay, from like the front view. Let's go like 3/4, which is a little trickier, but really what we want to think with a 3/4 is you still have that bump. And if we're looking this way, you'll have that little line, like we have the little seagull, but the issue is that the little other side is going to be much shorter. So when we make that little mouth, you want to think the bump, one of these little wings, if you want to think of them like little birds, is going to be long. The other one will be a little short. And then the lip, the lower lip, will kind of be a little bit fuller on this side. The upper lip will be shorter on that side. So on the 3/4 pose, you want to think that, just like with the eyes, how one eye was bigger than the other eye. So when we look at the eyes, you can see on the 3/4 pose that one eye is a little bit bigger than the other eye. On the 3/4 pose mouth, one side of the mouth will be a little bit bigger than the other side. I'll do that again. I'll have my little bump. I'll make my little split here. That's one side of the mouth. The other side of the mouth might be very, very short. And then when I make my lip, you're going to see that the lip is a little bit fuller on one side than it is on the other. And then when I make my top part of that lip, you're going to see one side again is a little bit shorter than the other side. Okay? And that's going to be my little trick for when you do a 3/4 mouth. You want to make sure that that mouth is a little bit lopsided, like a little bit too big on one side than the other. And again, you can shade them around, you can mess around with them. I'll do another one facing the other way. We have our little bump. We have that short side, and then we have the long side. And then for just a regular mouth, you could just kind of do just a bump underneath here to sort of separate. This is sort of the opening of the mouth. This is where the lower lip would end. And then if you want to make it just without like lipstick or defined lips, you could just put that little line over there. That would be sort of like a masculine kind of mouth. It's only 3 lines, but you can see that it will get the job done when you draw them. So 3/4 mouths are going to be a little bit, they're going to be exactly like these, except one side is going to be shorter. The short side on the face will be a little bit shorter than the other side. I'm going to give you a couple examples right now just for the side view, and we'll just call these the sides. And with the side one, I might actually have to do this on the face to show you, but really for the face, we'll just pretend that this is our nose coming down over here. We've got our nose, and then what we want to do is we kind of want a little ridge here and a little bit bigger ridge for the lower lip, kind of sweep into the chin. Upper lip, lower lip a little bit bigger, put a little line over there, that'll be fine. You can adjust that for underbites, overbites, but you've got, you know, your upper lip, lower lip, and then it sort of sweeps into the chin. Okay. Now, I'll do a few of those on the actual faces on my drawings over there, but that can kind of give you a little idea of what the side should look like. I'm going to go ahead and add some of these to my actual faces. Now, where should I put the mouth? One of the things you want to think of is like, well, one of the good places to put it is to try to think about where the bottom of the nose is, and then look at how much space you have here. Somewhere in between, like halfway, is good. You could put it slightly higher. I wouldn't put it slightly lower. You don't really want the mouth all the way down here and have a long upper lip. So I would go, if you divided this space from the edge of the bottom of the nose down to the chin in half, that's where I would put the middle of the mouth. If you want to, I would go just a little higher than that, but I wouldn't put it much lower than that. And then again, I would start with my little bump. Let me just clean this up since I have a few lines in there for you. I've got my little bump in the center, dead center. I put, if it's a bird you're thinking about, I'm putting my little wings on both sides. I've got my basic mouth there. If I just leave it like this, it'll kind of work and it's fine. But if I want to make it like it's sort of pouty lips, I would continue that bottom piece down over there. You could literally just do this and make that an open mouth too. But what I'll do is I'll just kind of double up the top part of my mouth with those little ridges. And you can add little details in there like that. But that would be a perfectly fine lips. If you want to shade them in a little bit, you can always shade them in a little bit just to kind of give them a little bit more of that darkness. But you can make them feminine, you can make them masculine, that's totally up to you. From here, if you want to go, you can, you know, go and do a little plastic surgery on your character. You can kind of see if you want to kind of take a little bit off the jawline, if you want to make it look a little bit more feminine or a little bit younger looking, you make it a little shorter chin. All right, you can kind of play around with those things. You can kind of make it skinnier or more pointed, but we at this point can kind of finish up what that face is looking like. And just by adjusting the sizes of any one of those little parts, that'll make it look a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and do the 3/4 pose now. On this side, again, somewhere from here to here, I'll find the middle. I'll put my little bump. My little bump will be along that line of symmetry that we originally created. This side is going to be very, very short. This side is going to be a bit longer. All right. How long? Probably a little bit longer than the edge of the nose and the nostril. I'll make my little bump underneath here. I can do my little sort of contour and just leave it like that. That's sort of like a regular mouth, maybe no lipstick. Or I could go ahead and sort of add another top part to that to sort of connect my bottom. And just realize that this one side is going to be a little bit longer and bigger than that side. You can see how that side's a little more like squished and turned. I can then sort of go ahead and play around with the sculpt of the face if I want to, either or. For the side view over here, again, what I'll do is I'll try to figure out probably about where that mouth is going to be. I'm going to sweep in from that top part and add just a little bit more flesh on this side, and then kind of round this off. We want whatever kind of face we make, we want this sort of little bit of a bump in here underneath that lower lip. And you know, if you want to make it a little bit more masculine looking, all you have to do is kind of put a line right there, maybe for like the crease of the cheek, and you're good to go. And then you can always play around with how big you want that chin to stick out and how beefy you want that jawline to be. Again, the more square you make that jawline, the more you make this protrude, the more masculine you'll make the face look. When you make it a little smaller, a little thinner, you make it a little bit more feminine. Again, adjusting those things ever so slightly gives you a different look for each one of them. I'll do my last two over here. Again, from the bottom of the nose to the chin, I'll find a spot. I'll make my little bump. I've got a short side. I've got a long side. I got my mark over here. I'll make them nice, really big, full lips. Little face over there, and then my last one over here for the side view. Again, I'll kind of sweep down here. I'll decide approximately where I'm going to put that mouth. Put a little bump sticking out here. A little bump comes out there. And make it look like there's lipstick. You can always just double up those lines and add a little bit more to them. There's obviously no one right way to do this. I'm just trying to give you some options as far as things that you can do. But what we want to do now is we want to start adding mouths and sort of finishing off the chins for our actual characters. I'll get us in focus again. Alright, I'm going to take a photograph of this. I'll post my example. I'll post the video in just a few minutes, and you guys can spend the rest of the week working on your finished faces.